बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hanuman Healing Hour podcast. I'm Jaitra Das. We have a really fun guest with us today. She's someone that has been on TikTok, has a little bit of YouTube. Honestly, I love the way that she molds her channel and puts ideas out there, but doesn't just put non-proved things out there. Today, I welcome Fox from BFFRN News. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, sweetheart. Smile painting.
Love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I really am thankful that you agreed to do this. Honestly, have been wanting to have you on for a little while now. One thing that like I said, I like about your channel is that you don't just put ideas out there. You have a sense of, I'm going to prove this, or if it's not correct, I'm going to be honest with my audience. Would you mind giving our audience just a little background of who you are, how you maybe got involved with this, how you came up with the idea of BFFRN News?
Yeah. You said my name is Fox. Getting involved with it, it's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like the easiest way to explain it would be taking just like a super interest or just a really niche interest and then wanting to share it with everybody. The first video I ever had taken off was talking about the birds the year after COVID, how they were just hanging on the wire.
I remember that.
And how it freaked me out. And I compared it to the old stories of coal miners using canaries. And a lot of people hadn't heard that story before, which was surprising. I grew up in Kentucky, though, so coal mines,
Yeah,
everywhere. It's just common thing.
Yep.
So, it's just kind of bloomed into sharing things that people haven't seen before, or maybe haven't known, and then celebrating learning with them, even if it's fake. We can celebrate learning that it's fake together.
Right. That's awesome. So how did you kind of come up with the idea of your channel itself? Like, a lot of people don't really do the whole news thing, you know what I mean?
Well, with the news stuff, I didn't want to be in the news. It kind of grew into its own entity and kind of took on its own personality. Be freaking for real is something my mom used to say when she thought that I was lying, and it would scare the daylights out of me because I knew that if I was lying, what was coming after that.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of wanted to reframe it into a phrase of love, you're so excited you can't believe it, be freaking for real, that's awesome, something like that.
I love that.
Thanks.
I love that. That's great.
But yeah.
So one thing that I usually ask our guests, especially ones that have channels, where do you kind of see what you are doing, your channel, yourself? Where do you see yourself moving to kind of in the future?
I don't know. I'm going to be 100% honest. I do this as a hobby. It's not my real job. We talked about that before, but I really just want it to be how would I say this? Here comes the word vomit.
You're good.
I don't know. Okay, do you know the story? It's a really, really old fable. Somebody's on an adventure and they come across two statues. One's a head that always tells the truth, and then one's a head that lies.
Okay.
We, as a people, just as humans, has had the head that lies for centuries. And I'm tired of it. I want to start maybe 1,000 little heads of truth. And I want them to be louder than the head that lies. I don't really see it as an individual growth. I want to see it as, a population growth, like an idea growth. I want to be the skepticism that itches at the back of your head. Like, is this real? Let's prove it. Small panic. Let's prove it.
I like that. Yeah, one of the I guess you say missions of my podcast is to eventually at a point kind of form a community, and that's something that I've noticed you've kind of done. And basically, I want to take it to where the main aspect of the podcast is focusing on people who have gone through trauma, right, and have come out on the other side of it. Whether they went through the trauma and, like myself, had a period of substance abuse and then got clean, or they went through the trauma and they're, magical, I make $10 million a day person, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah, that'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
it's the taking the trauma and doing something with it that I
Hmm.
personally believe when people hear it, it helps them heal from their own trauma, right? So if I
Yes.
went through something and you can relate to that something that I went through, you at least have an informed idea of where it's possible to go, type of idea.
Yes, sir. And I really think that that idea right there is what is dividing the world right now. We have half of the people that's like you. I went through this. This hurt me. I want to tell you about it so that you don't have to go through it, so that you don't hurt, and that we can, like, bypass that phase of your life together and heal together. And then you have the other half of the population that's like, well, I did it by myself. I made it through. I'm okay. I turned out just fine. What's it going to hurt for you to go through it?
Yeah.
That, yes.
And
100%. We need more mindset like yours. 100%.
and for sure, don't get me wrong, like I'm 100% grateful for the trauma that I went through
Hmm.
because it made me who I am. And had I not gone through it, honestly, I don't even know where I would be. One thing that like you said, I do think we have a big split of as a society is
Hmm.
the I'm a victim mentality, right? So when you go
Hmm.
through the trauma, it wasn't me that went through the trauma, it's you made me go through the trauma. And now
Right.
you see what I'm saying? So that's one of the
Hmm.
main missions is to show people that even if it was their fault that you went through the trauma, you were the one
Hmm.
that can have the power to go through it, get out.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So,
I love that. Yes,
so
sir.
where I'm at with that one.
Nice. I love it. Yes, sir.
Uh, um, so one thing that I also really like about your TikToks and what you do is in for my audience, you may not know this, some of you may. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy minded person, right? One thing that I really loved you did the other day is you were talking about the mandala effect, or
Mhm.
basically the idea that there are different things that you remember and I remember, and we may remember them differently. One
Mhm.
thing that I really loved that you did was you showed a way to kind of go back digitally, right? So you used an example of fact that Thanksgiving was at some point the third week of the month, and this year it was the fourth week of the month. And then you showed that there were Black Friday sales that were actually in that third week of the month. How did you
Yep.
how did you figure that one out?
So when I was growing up, I had a very rich childhood. Not rich as in money, but rich as an experience.
Okay.
We all know that my uncle worked as the elephant man for Cincinnati Zoo, but my father and my mother owned a recording studio.
Okay.
People would come in with their individual work, and they would, copyright, trademark it, and then pitch it to different groups. A lot of the groups that we pitched to were either affiliated with Universal Music Group, or they were affiliated with RCA Records, which now, if I'm not mistaken, is part of Universal Group.
Okay.
But back in the day, you couldn't just, go viral, right? When I was growing up, you had to have somebody vouch for you, and you had to have somebody listen to your music. And that's where my family came in. We would pitch it. We would be the ones that would be like, hey, we back this person. And they would listen, and they would either have their song bought or they wouldn't. When it came to the trademark stuff, there have been thousands of lawsuits, including ones that I've seen play out in person over music, specifically tunes,
Okay.
people sampling music when they're not supposed to sample and stuff like that. In that court of law, you can use a copyright, you can use a trademark, or you can use something back in the day called a poor man's copyright, which was mailing something to your Self Express, signing for it, and then keeping it, just to prove that it's your intellectual property and when you came up with it. There will always be evidence of something existing because people are greedy, and that's essentially where it comes from. I don't think that I was the first one to think of this. I'm going to be 100% honest, because if I thought of this, somebody else must have been clever enough to think of it first. But I am cynical at heart when it comes to big corporations and big companies. So my thought process was, okay, either all of these people have time jumped, and there's no evidence for this to exist, which, Everybody says if, most logical solution is sometimes the simplest, or we find evidence and we sue. Because I personally think that it's some sort of like a social experiment that we're going to have no idea about. Just like seeing what all companies can get away with switching memories and stuff. And if it is, that needs to be brought to attention and that needs a lawsuit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's in my opinion, I think you're right, to be honest. I feel like it's
Thank
a
you.
social experiment, and we'll get into another topic kind of on this in a second, but I feel like it's a social experiment to see how, as a mass population, we can either be not necessarily controlled, but how much they can poke the bear, right? Like,
Yeah.
they did that.
Or just how much people are gullible enough to believe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because if you can convince somebody they're crazy, you can convince them to fall in
Well,
line.
and I want to put this in your mind too, maybe. One thing that I notice, so for my audience, I teach a lot of metaphysical things. So if you're my student, you know that. But basically, what I mean by that is I teach a lot of ideas of alternate realities and alternate dimensions. So in
Nice.
living and navigating in those while you are in the 3D world. One thing I think is they want to see who is paying attention and who is plugged into what the next football game is, who is plugged into what this movie star is doing, who is, basically who is paying attention and who is still asleep type of
Right.
mindset, right? And that kind of brings me to my next point is with all this stuff going on in the US, we had the Senate hearing, we had the congressional hearing on UAPs.
Mhm.
Apparently now this past couple of days, we've had a whole crap ton of these UAPs showing up at different places. The craziest one, in my opinion, at the moment is that Manchester one. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I'm like we talked a little bit off camera. I'm not 100% convinced, but if it is the best video we've ever seen, that little thing is kind of freaky. Like I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
horns on it and like
The horns is what made me skeptical a little bit. Cause like what well, I'm getting bamboozled. Like what evolutionary purpose does horns serve to a highly advanced being that is not a goat?
right.
Like
You're not fighting with them. You're
it does not help them survive. If they're crashing into each other at what, like 11,000 Gs,
yeah,
like horns mean nothing at this
right,
point.
for sure,
That feels very specifically like geared towards making a certain faction of the population stand in fear.
for sure.
Because Christianity, at this point in day and age is still the most popular religion, but they demonize everything. Dionysus, if you Google him, the
Mhm.
god of pleasure and wine, is said to be the devil on the tarot card, like from a Christian basis. It's so silly. Like, but if something has horns and it's a highly advanced being, that makes me raise an eyebrow because the rest of it wasn't shaped for battle. Like, you
Like
know?
it's not. It doesn't have a huge, what we would consider a spear or something that it was going to drag into
Yeah.
something. One thing that I did see, somebody took a breakdown of the video itself, right? So if you plug things in, for the audience that doesn't know, if you plug things into Photoshop, there's ways for you to prove if a video is altered or if it has any type of alteration to it. One thing that I saw was somebody plugged it in and basically they show frame by frame that all the lines line up. There's no, alterations to the actual frames, things like that. What do you think about if the video is real, what do you think about the reason it's coming out now? Like, you know what I mean?
So the reason for the video being released now or the reason for the thingy being here now?
Well, we can do the thingy being here now, but the reason it's being because I got theories on that one too. You know what I mean? The reason it's being like we had the congressional hearings, right? And then now we're having some of these videos, which I clearly think are just kind of fake, like the one over the Capitol,
Mhm.
couple over the military
Okay.
bases, things like that. But why is it that now we're getting a perfectly framed, perfectly visible UAP that's everybody's freaking out about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's recorded on the Samsung Potato anymore.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So here comes the word vomit again. Dang it. Just bear with me. I'll make a point, right?
I do the same thing,
So
so it's all good.
the fact of all of these videos coming out at once is very suspicious because I've even had people message me saying, "Hey, I've been trying to upload this video of something I've saw for months. It went into processing because you know what processing is, where they think that there's something bad in it and then they just hold
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I, deleted it, tried to take it out of processing myself and, deleted it entirely. And then months later, now it's being released. This specifically happened to one of my personal friends because they travel a lot, they see a lot of stuff. But it's very, very interesting that it's not even the government doing it now. We're seeing like a mass release on social media as well for videos that were previously blocked from being uploaded and blocked from just being exposed entirely. It feels like that there's been something that's happened with the Dissemination of Information Act, but I can't verify that just because I haven't looked it up. But when it comes to just the base reasoning for everything coming out today, I genuinely feel one of two reasons is happening. One is something so big is coming that we genuinely can't hide it anymore. The government has bamboozled and kerfluffled the wrong thing, and something big is about to happen, and they're trying to give us a tiny little window of preparation. Or two, something is coming. It's coming at a slower pace than the first anticipated one. And it's not necessarily real, and they want to see how we're going to react to it being real. I'm going back to those videos that we talked about before, the UAP ones. There's one specifically that I'm going to repost on my channel, and it's you know, the pyramid lights that we were talking about
Yeah.
where they formation and then the stars. There goes the
No,
birthday things again. I have
that's
no
so
idea what
freaking
that is.
cool. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know how we're doing it either, but that's cool. I wonder if it's the word bamboozle that makes it.
Maybe. But the triangle video with the pyramid, I got tagged in it probably like 3,000 times because everyone's like, wow, it's really
Yeah,
clear.
yeah,
But you can see the thing up here, it looks like it's just a blinking light. And, we talked about it before. I had a friend that ran theaters
yeah.
as part of their career. And whenever we would take videos of them doing shadow puppets just for fun, the projector would show up as a blinking light, not as a steady light. So I really think that this could be just like a trial or a test run with those things. Not necessarily all of them, of course, because good Lord, there's got to be one that at least slips through logically, right? One real one at the very least. But if this does come down to, every single thing having a blinking light up in the right-hand corner or in the bottom left-hand corner, it feels like Bluebeam because, we talked about it before. Humans are funny. They bond with things in funny ways. If, we happen to have an intergalactic, ally that looks all goofy, like we're going to make fun of it, then we're going to love it. Like that's just how humans are. But we got to test that out before we cause an intergalactic mishap
Right.
because we would also be doing that.
And it's
It's like the WTF message that was sent from the aliens that one guy received that we just made a video on. That was just the three letters. Like, what are you
yeah,
doing?
like it's for the audience because I have a kind of a foreign audience, but here in America, one thing we do a lot of, and it's something that I guess we kind of all started in school, was if we like something, we tease it, we make fun of it, we push it down in the
Unfortunately.
playground and we call it ugly and we all that fun crap. One thing that kind of just popped up, and I'll have to send it to you after the show so you can do what you do with it. Is I live in kind of near Tampa, Florida, and last
Mhm.
night there was a video of what I can only describe as a comet turning into a helicopter, like in its full comet
My
going
Linda.
across, it loops back around, and then the trail of the comet goes away and then a light starts blinking like a helicopter and it goes off frame. So I'll have to send that one to you. But the reason I say that,
Y'all are way braver than I am. I would have just started blasting. I was like, no.
I mean, is Florida for Florida. I mean, we have pet alligators, you know what I mean? So
Florida man. Yeah.
um what the reason I bring that up though is I have an idea that one thing that government may be doing, and kind of like you said, I don't know if you heard, apparently a couple of month ago, maybe a couple of months ago, the Hubble telescope picked up objects. And I don't know if you've done any type of research into it. I haven't really, but apparently, I guess, according to social media, the Hubble space telescope or whatever picked up objects that were moving in one direction and then apparently altered their course to now apparently head towards Earth, right?
Yes, sir. So there's not really a lot of information on it. It's just kind of like, hey, we found this,
And then it went dark, right?
Yeah, it's very bizarre. So it was right around the time that we were talking about the tiny second moon and making jokes about that on our channel.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was, at first they thought it was an asteroid, right? And then they thought that it was just like a huge rock. But the fact that it's like beelining towards Earth and it course corrects itself because it will like refuse to bump into things larger than itself.
Mm,
That it knows would like compromise its structural integrity or, allegedly, whatever.
right.
But the fact that it's course correcting is very, very bizarre because there's not any sort of a pull gravitational wise that comes from us that would cause a beeline directly, light years away from us. There's also things that are shooting out of our solar system quicker than anything that we've seen, like just eject
Like
launch.
what is it called? Oumuamua? How it came in?
Or something like that. I haven't really researched that term before, but I've seen it a lot in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
comments.
I'm sure.
But yeah, it's very, very strange. It's almost like they're playing intergalactic tag. And if that's the case, that's cute. You can keep playing. But if it's dangerous, like that thing from the Fifth Element, like I mean, baby, listen, we already got the great value Fifth Element supervillain. Compare Elon Musk to the guy with the plastic on his head side by side. They even sound the
I
same.
mean,
They're built the same.
what was
Like
the one show? The girl can't miss or cat miss or whatever.
Katniss, yeah, Hunger
I swear
Games.
to God that Elon Musk with that haircut, like I know my hair is kind of goofy and I look like a weird, 1940s Viking, but the way he has his haircut, like he looks like that dude. Like he saw that picture and he's like, that's who I want to be. You know what I mean?
Yes. Now, I'm not one to body shame in any
Not
capacity,
even.
but have you seen his shirt? This man without his shirt on?
Right. You can't tell me.
I would slam money on the table, willing to bet that he has something
You,
implanted in his upper
you can't
torso.
tell me that man is a full human. That is not a human. Like, and I'm not body shaming 100%. But I mean, like he's
Like a little
just
alien crawled out of his
randomly
chest like a
really,
man in
yeah,
black.
you know what I mean? Like all of our ideas of what an alien looks like, and then this man just mysteriously has a small upper chest and then a protruding. Come on, you know what I mean?
He's going to come across this podcast just generically
Right.
on his For You page or something, and he's going to be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have people with black.
Make sure you upload this to Twitter.
I got off of that thing. Yeah, there was just too many.
I got banned so many times.
I couldn't do it no more. Like I'm fun with the conspiracies, but when you start getting all like, the government's eating our cats and dogs, now I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. You have to, there is a level of discernment to be had when exploring different theories. I absolutely agree. You need to keep this skepticism. Yeah, skepticism in the back of your mind, like it's like a brain hugger for real. Although it's very fun to explore some. Like, it's just so fun, some of the stuff that people come up with. Just organically, too. Like, the guy who created the flying spaghetti monster, right? Let's use him as an example for organic creation. He was being goofy. He was trying to be ironic. Same idea as Church of Satan. But what he didn't know was that, 100,000 miles, maybe 200,000 miles under the ocean in 2024, there would be a fish discovered, an actual spaghetti monster fish. Like,
Yeah,
just humans are phenomenal. I love them.
I think with them now saying that because for the audience who doesn't know, we have only looked into, not even minus like actually explored, but looked into around 5% of the world's oceans, right?
Hmm.
Statistically, we can't know that much about our planet. In my mind, when I hear that, I can only assume that there has to be so much stuff that we don't know about. You know what I mean? And now
Absolutely.
they're
And
telling,
whether or not we just,
well,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over
you're
you.
good. And now they're telling us like everything's in, they're all coming out of the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry again, but it's just glitching a little bit. When it comes to the ocean, I asked my mother the same thing because we knew about like different cultures and civilizations, knowing about astrology and stuff like that. My mother was pagan, but I always asked her the same thing. I said, okay, how they know all this about the stars is up there. They don't have no way to get to it, but they don't know nothing about the water. And she was like, what do you mean they don't know nothing about the water? And I said, well, it's here, isn't it? Like, shouldn't we be looking at that first? But it always seemed fascinating to me that different cultures and ancient ones too, Aztec, Mayans, all of the key ones there,
Right.
they all knew about astrology to the point where they knew things that we did not, and we still cannot figure out to this
Yeah.
day. But when it comes to the oceans and stuff like that, their one piece of advice was just stay out of it.
Right. Right.
Like, what did you guys know? What has been lost to time? I really think that that's what it is. I don't think that we haven't been able to organically, adventure into it.
Mhm.
I feel like that we have had civilizations that have taken that step to try and either, figure out what's going on or just see what's down there. And then they just got the tarnation scared right out of them. And they're like, no, no mas,
Yeah, they got down there and they saw the UAP with the horns on it.
the horny UAP, the devil UAP.
That's the new name of it, the horny UAP.
It's like that Ron guy with the mustache, just with horns floating around. Sorry. That horn UAP's gonna crack me up. And my girlies, this is why I use a filter. Birthmark showing up like crazy too. I thought I had to entertain the audience
No,
while you
you're
were
good.
gone, so I
For
panicked
some
and I just
reason,
started
it does
talking.
that. Everyone's like, it did it a couple of episodes ago, and it did last time. It just picked up right. Like, it doesn't even show that portion of it. So, I mean, I'm not 100% sure that it
Well,
won't,
good.
but yeah, it's fun sometimes. Until I, actually get a studio to
Yeah.
do all this in, this is what we play with.
Yeah. Your
So
setup
this
now, I love the
is, I
art
can't
behind
really
you.
show
Did
you
you or your
too
partner do
much,
that?
but so when we were talking earlier, so I
Sorry.
practice Hinduism.
Those are
So
now?
that's my
Yeah, those
meditation
are
table.
pictures, like
These are
portraits. Yeah.
my teachers. And then
Aw,
I don't know if you're familiar with the term
I love that.
Ishtadev, but it's basically the deity that you relate
Hmm.
to the most. And mine is Hanuman, the god of strength. He's a devotee of Ram.
Aw,
All of my everything is in that form. So that's kind of my backdrop. It's one of the reasons I
love that.
named the podcast Hanuman Healing Hour is in Hindu mythology, in Hindu spirituality, yoga, whatever you want to call it. Um, one of the aspects of Hanuman is in the Ramayana, one of the books that he's in. The story is that him and Ram were going
Hmm.
to find Ram's wife Sita, and through that process, they got involved in a battle. And Ram's brother, who is Lakshman, ended up getting injured, right? And it's a metaphor for when you get spiritually injured or when you get hit with some sort of trauma. And Hanuman dropped everything he was doing and went and flew as fast as he could to this special island and found this very special medicine and very quickly came back, bringing the entire mountain on his hand back so that he could save Lakshman so that Ram's brother wouldn't die. And it's really a metaphor for using the strength that you have inside yourself to push and get through what you perceive to be as a bad or a negative situation, and using that to basically medicine or help or bring yourself up for the betterment of the other people around you, right? So one way that Rama is perceived
Yeah.
is as every single person, right? So what we believe is that you and me are the same exact entity. We are viewing it from different perspectives, right? We're viewing the thing we call life from different perspectives, but we are all
Yes.
the same exact consciousness. And that same exact consciousness is
Right.
the idea of we all reside in a certain space inside of ourselves. And if we can connect with that, we can connect with that one universal consciousness. And that one universal consciousness goes through these things, and we all can connect to each other and help each other go through these things together. Right. It's an idea of we're all
Yeah,
walking each
that is
other home.
gorgeous. I love that.
Right. So we all have a place of
Yeah.
home inside ourselves. And if I can
Yeah.
help you get there, you can help somebody else get there. If you can help somebody else get there, they can help somebody else get there. And it's kind of like a pay it forward type idea. You know what I mean? So, and it's
I
honestly
love that. Yeah.
one thing that I've noticed is that and not to, bring a vibe down, but I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life. And one thing I've noticed is this type of idea, the what I practice, the different avenues that I've gone through with this has worked in a way in my life where I can develop and see compassion for virtually anybody or anything. You know what I mean? Um, from like the homeless person on the side of the road who
Yeah.
hasn't had food in 2-3 days, to the billionaire who thinks that he's jumping up and down on stage. I can see a place in that person where I can develop compassion for them, see where they're at in their life, and understand that they are going through something and they may not be that way forever. You know what I mean? So it helps.
And I feel like if more people
Oh
had that
yeah,
kind of
yeah. I
ideology,
mean,
then we'd
and
see a lot less icky
it's
too.
slowly starting to develop in a mass consciousness, right? And I'm not sure how much interaction you've had with like the spiritual community. One thing that we try to show people is that it doesn't matter where you are coming from. It matters what you are wanting to do with your life and where you want to go with your life, right? So if you've come through abuse and a bunch of bad things, there is always somebody in that community that can relate with you. You know what I mean? Like if because I've gone through, and this is
Yeah.
a trauma alert, but I've gone through sexual assaults. I've been in, bad situations. I've been in violent
Oh my
situations.
goodness.
And if I can use that to relate to someone, then hopefully I can help them, is the idea. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And that goes exactly back to what we were talking about before, the ideology of, I went through this, let me help
Mm-hmm.
you through this versus I went through this, you'll be fine. Like a lot more people need the I went through this, let me help you through this, let's heal together type mindset versus the, I went through this, you're just being a sissy,
What is
walk it off
it
sport,
that the
that
government
kind of
tells us to do?
mentality.
Pull up by your bootstraps or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If I hear one more person tell me that, name one
Name
person in our government
name
right now
one
that had to
that's
pull
actually ever
themselves up by
worn
their
boots.
freaking bootstraps.
Name one
None of
that's
them.
actually ever
Everybody had
worn
hands
boots.
helping them up the entire way.
Ain't none of them ever worn boots.
Huh?
You know what I mean? um, that that honestly kind of brings me to another point, though, is a lot of people see what you're doing, and honestly, I'm not just saying this to boost your ego, but a lot of people see what you do and see the level of confidence that you have, and myself included, have gotten a little bit of strength from that. Honestly, if I had done this interview a couple of months ago, we would be interacting, but we wouldn't be interacting on this like friend type basis. You know what I mean? It would be, what do you think of this? And what do you think you know what I mean?
And I would be so nervous. I'd just be giving back, straight
What would
answers.
be one kind of maybe piece of advice you would want to give somebody who maybe is getting involved in social media or getting out there maybe in the public eye, that has helped you kind of get over maybe your fear of not necessarily being on camera, but like being out there? You know what I mean? Oh
How
yeah,
candid
yeah,
am I allowed
yeah.
to be?
We ain't monetized.
Like, am I allowed to use bad words? Like, ignore the fuck out of people. Ignore the absolute hell out of people. See, When it came to this
Okay.
stuff, when I first started my channel, I was with my ex-husband. We went round and round. It was Clash of the Titans. You know, you can look back at old videos when I first posted. I had band-aids all over my face. You know, it was very hard. I was surrounded by people that told me that I was an idiot for trying, that nobody was listening to me. I didn't deserve anybody to listen to me. One thing that I'll stand and die on is that everybody deserves to be listened to. It doesn't matter what you're saying. You can be crazy. Go ahead, be Delulu. Say the Delulu thing. I'll still listen. But don't stop yourself. Don't limit yourself just because some asshole from your hometown says that you're wrong. Because, you know, even if we want to go past me, let's use somebody freaking huge. Gordon Ramsay,
Right.
you know, idiot sandwich guy for, you know, the people that don't know him. Phenomenal cook, phenomenal ideas, phenomenal businessman. He cannot have a restaurant in his hometown to this day without it failing because people in his hometown just want it to fail. The people around you right now,
Hmm.
if you are not with, you know, your soul tribe, for a better way to put it, are not going to accept your ideologies because of fear. You know, what you're doing right now, let's use that for an example, because it's, you know, helping people through trauma is light years more important than the news, you know, because that comes down to the individual. But crap, I lost
We
my
love
train of
it.
thought. Hang on. ADHD struck.
Squirrel.
I saw a bag over there. I was like, what's that? But,
You're good.
oh, I knew I was going to word vomit. uh, but
Basically, yeah.
crap,
Yeah.
what was your question, sweetheart? I'm so sorry. Well, the advice. The advice, I'm sorry. But, you know, nobody starts out with their full soul tribe. You know, you may start out with one or two people that lead you to the rest. But don't stop just because somebody says that you're goofy. Don't stop just because somebody says that you're wrong. You know, if you think that you're wrong, you know, fix it. Correct yourself. I've corrected myself 10,000 times on my channel. You know, I'm
Yeah.
willing
Yeah.
to own the L if I read something and it's bamboozle and, you know, whatever. That's part of being human. But when it comes to people just starting out, you are going to hear so many voices telling you not to do it. But you're going to hear one voice down here and in here that's going to be like, why don't you
That's
try? Listen to those two. Don't listen to anything else. And then those two voices are going to lead you on up through the rest of the time. I had no idea what I was going to call my channel when I started reporting the news. And then I remembered my mom telling me to be freaking for real. And I just, zoop. I couldn't type out the F word, right? Because that's a bad word, but I could type out the acronym. But yeah, people will
for
tell you
sure.
no, people will tell you you're stupid. People will try to sabotage you. I have people from my hometown that still get on my my channel and try to just
Right.
mass report it because they don't like the fact that people are listening to me. People are going to get more mad the bigger that you get. So it's important for people starting out now to just ignore the heck out of everybody that is tearing you down and listen to the
For
constructive
sure. For
criticism,
sure.
not the
Yeah. That's
rudeness, but the constructive criticism.
no.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent
We
and
don't
lose
have
my
marbles
marbles and
around here.
everything else there.
They got lost with the, what was it, Captain Hook. Um, no, and honestly, that's beautiful advice because when, like with me, and it may be because of the trauma. I don't know. We'll see about that one. But you know what I mean? Of is this even worth me
Mm-hmm.
doing? You know what I mean? Like for me personally, I work a 9 to 5 job, right, to pay
Mm-hmm.
for the bills. I have responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
of, taking care of a household, being married, having a child, paying child support, all the normal stuff, right? One
Right.
of my desires eventually, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
come if I continue, is to do this, if not full time, as my main thing, right? Eventually using the podcast
Yeah.
to form a community like we were saying, but have a all the time, I guess, avenue to do this and still pay the bills, right? And what I
Yeah.
really like about what you said is what I had to understand was, even if this seems silly right now, if I look in the future and I want that thing in the future, then what I'm doing right now doesn't seem so silly to me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. It seems very professional. Yes, sir. And what you have to understand too, going back to the trauma, when people verbalize their ideologies of you not being able to make it, you not being worth listening to, blah, 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 that is more of an indication of their own self doubt. They know in their heart of hearts that they couldn't do it. They couldn't, pull off a podcast. They couldn't get 3,000 subscribers, They knew that they couldn't hold the candle to it. So they automatically assume that you also are not able to do that because you grew up around them, or you went to the same school,
Oh
or
yeah.
you happen to bump into them at the supermarket. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be the one that nurtures that little flame of, yes, I can. I am professional. I can do this. I'm dressing for what I want to.
Yep, for sure.
You
Well,
gotta you gotta snap yourself into
question that
success.
I really like to ask all of our guests, kind of almost as a closing out, and feel free to answer it any way you want. One thing that I teach my students is to, if you can't get comfortable with death or your death, at least kind of try to think of what you would want to leave behind, right? So if you were to leave this earth
Hmm.
today, right? If your body dropped and you got stuck in the ground and you were leaving today, what is one maybe piece of advice or marker that you would like to leave on the world?
Just one? I'm a yapper. You know that. If it's gotta be just one message, I would make it short and sweet. To love as hard as you fight, and to fight as hard as you love. And to always make sure that those balance out. Because if those are balanced out, you will never find yourself fighting for the wrong reasons and on the wrong team in history. That's about it. Other than that, I would say make sure that you don't
If they
lose your
weren't on my
glasses,
head, they'd be
because I lose
lost,
mine every other damn day. I was spent like the
right?
last 30 minutes looking for them, and they was right
Please,
here on the couch.
I need to get one of those things that you wrap around the back of your head. Anyway, right,
Yeah,
right.
like one of those bands or whatever, the
So
sports
in
bands or
kind of
something.
closing, is there like, we'll include your link to your TikTok and everything. Is there any social medias that if somebody wants to send you a video to check out or anything, is there any social medias you'd like to plug? I usually try to give the guest a time frame to plug themselves a little bit.
My TikTok is basically the best way to get in contact with me because that's open 24/7, 365 on my phone. It's very hard for messages though because they keep changing the
Right.
parameters for who and
Yep.
what can send message requests, and I cannot receive pictures in that. So, I have at this point, I've basically just made everything everybody asked me to. I have a YouTube, I got a Facebook, I got an Instagram, and I got a Blue Sky. I couldn't do Twitter's because I got banned too many times,
I
so I
hear
did Blue Sky. Sorry, guys. They
I hear
really
blue
don't like
skies.
just
I
preaching
hear
love
blue
on
skies
Twitter. Like they hate
gonna
that, and I
take
don't
over.
understand why.
Apparently, I don't know. I haven't even got.
They're going very fast. I was looking at the statistics for it the other day, and there's already been a max
Jeez.
exodus of
Wow.
over like 23 million or
Wow.
24 million people from Facebook and Twitter combined. It's a, keep in mind it's still a brand new
Yeah.
app. It's still got bugs and stuff like that. The memes are fire, but there's still potential pitfalls for, areas that you don't necessarily want to be in because, like always, there's like the Nazi dog whistle or how you say that. Like they're starting their own little groups on there and stuff. They're very swift to boot them off. Just be careful because it's a new app. It's still got bugs, and you don't want to accidentally start getting bad ideologies thinking that they are true ideologies because they're still working on their little parameters for what can be posted and what not. And the one thing we don't want to do is spread any sort of ideology that puts one being superior or over the other, or inflects that we need eugenics or any sort of bamboozle bullshit like that, because one thing I cannot stand is humans treating other humans like they're not fucking human. I will go
No, you're
off.
good. You're good. Like I said
Sorry, I didn't
earlier,
mean to F
we're
word.
not
I'm sorry.
monetized yet. So the whole fucking, I don't care about none of that.
Thank goodness you got me on beforehand, honey,
I
because
don't
I
care
would
about
have
that
done
yet.
unmonetized.
Well, honestly, I really want to thank you for coming on with any of our guests. If you are ever available and you want to come back on, something pops up and you want to be another guest, I loved having you on. Like I said, it's been kind of a dream to want
Sounds
to get
good.
you on and talk to you and conspiracy chat.
It's very, very sweet. Thank you, sweetheart. And I hope
Yeah,
that you and your
hopefully
partner do well
it'll
too. I
happen
can't
if we
wait to see
keep
you
going.
guys take off.
So, Well, I thank you
It
again
will, 100%.
for
Yes,
the
sir.
audience. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I can always relate them. Like I said, I'll put your links and stuff down in the description if you guys want to check out the channel. Be freaking for real news. And again, just thank you so much, Fox, for coming on. Thank you. Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you for having me, sweetheart. Have a good day. Bye.
Hello, family. This is Jaitra Das from the Hanuman Healing Hour. I wanted to come on and thank you for tuning in to this episode and tuning into all the episodes that you do. Your support has greatly kept me going. Just knowing that there are people that enjoy the content and enjoy the interviews makes me so happy. I do want to also announce that we are going to do 2 giveaways. The first is going to be a sticker giveaway. So a sticker and a bumper sticker from Baba's Feed Project. And then the next giveaway is going to be for the top contributor. So anyone who has the most comments or is selected from the comments, that is where we will pick them from. We will be giving away a beautiful little Om necklace, also from Baba's Feed Project. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being supportive and tuning in. Namaste.